What if I told you that most people in the gym are working hard, but not actually building muscle? They sweat, they lift, they push themselves to exhaustion, yet months later, they look almost the same. Frustrating, right? The truth is, muscle growth isn't just about lifting heavy weights or spending hours in the gym. It's about understanding what actually triggers your body to grow. And in this speech, you're going to discover the real science behind muscle growth so you stop wasting time and start seeing results. If you've ever felt stuck, confused, or overwhelmed by conflicting fitness advice, stay with me because what you're about to learn can completely change the way you train forever. Let's start with the biggest misconception. Muscles don't grow while you're lifting weights. Actually causes tiny damage to your muscle fibers. This process is called muscle breakdown. Now that might sound like a bad thing, but it's not. This damage is the signal your body needs to start rebuilding those fibers stronger and thicker than before. That rebuilding process is what we call muscle growth. But here's where most people go wrong. They think more damage equals more growth. So they overtrain, push too hard, and skip recovery. Result, fatigue, injury, and stalled progress. Muscle growth is not about destroying your body, it's about stimulating it just enough to adapt. This brings us to one of the most important principles, progressive overload. If you keep lifting the same weights, doing the same reps, your body has no reason to grow. It adapts quickly. Growth only happens when you challenge your muscles beyond what they're used to, whether that's increasing weight, reps, intensity, or even improving form. Without progressive overload, there is no signal for growth. Now let's talk about nutrition because you can't build muscle without the right fuel. Yes, protein is important, but it's not the only thing that matters. Your body also needs carbohydrates for energy and fats for hormone balance. If you're under eating, your body simply won't have the resources to build new muscle tissue. Think of it like trying to build a house without enough bricks. It's just not going to happen. And then there's recovery, the most underestimated part of muscle growth. Your muscles don't grow in the gym. They grow when you rest. Sleep, in particular, is critical. That's when your body releases growth hormone and repairs damaged tissues. If you're sleeping poorly or not allowing enough recovery time between workouts, you're slowing down your progress no matter how hard you train. Finally, let's talk about consistency and the mind-muscle connection. Muscle growth doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of small, repeated efforts over time, and how you perform each rep matters. When you truly focus on the muscle you're working, feeling it contract and stretch, you create a stronger stimulus for growth. So if you take anything away from this, let it be this. Muscle growth is not about doing more, it's about doing things right. Train with purpose, fuel your body properly, recover fully, and stay consistent. That's the real formula. Most people believe that if they spend more time in the gym, lift heavier weights, and push themselves to exhaustion, muscle growth is guaranteed. But that belief is exactly why so many people stay stuck, putting in effort without seeing real change. The truth is, muscle growth is not driven by how tired you feel after a workout, how much you sweat, or even how sore you are the next day. It's driven by specific biological signals inside your body that tell your muscles they need to adapt and become stronger. When you lift weights, you're not directly building muscle, you're creating a stimulus. That stimulus causes microscopic damage to your muscle fibers, and your body responds by repairing those fibers to be thicker and more resilient. But here's the key point most people miss. That stimulus has to be precise and progressive. If it's too weak, your body won't see any reason. If it's too extreme, your body shifts into recovery mode without optimal adaptation, or worse, you risk injury and burnout. This is why simply copying random workouts or chasing fatigue doesn't work. Your muscles respond to tension, not chaos. Mechanical tension, when your muscles are under controlled, challenging load, is one of the most powerful drivers of growth. And yet, many people rush through their reps, use momentum, or sacrifice form just to lift heavier, completely missing the very signal their muscles need. Another factor is consistency of stimulus over time. Doing an intense workout once in a while won't lead to lasting growth. Your body adapts to repeated demands, not occasional effort. That means your training has to follow a pattern where each session builds slightly on the previous one. This doesn't mean you have to drastically increase weights every day, but there needs to be some form of progression, whether it's better control, more reps, or improved range of motion. On top of that, your body doesn't operate in isolation. Stress, sleep, and overall lifestyle play a major role in whether your muscles actually grow. If your body is constantly under stress or lacking proper recovery, it prioritizes survival over growth. Hormones like cortisol can interfere with muscle building processes, making all your hard work less. And then there's patience, something that's often overlooked in a world obsessed with quick results. Muscle growth is a slow, adaptive process. Your body needs time to respond, rebuild, and strengthen. Expecting dramatic changes in a short period leads to frustration and often causes people to quit too early or jump from one program to another without giving anything enough time to work. When you understand this, you start to shift your mindset from chasing immediate results to building a system that works over weeks and months. And that's when real sustainable muscle growth begins to happen. Not because you're doing more, but because you finally understand what actually drives the process and start aligning your actions with how your body truly responds. Muscle growth doesn't begin with building, it begins with breakdown. And that's a concept that often confuses people because we naturally associate growth with adding something, not damaging it first. But when you lift weights, especially with proper intensity and control, you create tiny microtears in your muscle fibers. This isn't an injury in the harmful sense, it's a signal. Your body is incredibly intelligent, and whenever it detects this kind of stress, it responds by repairing those fibers in a way that makes them stronger and slightly larger so they can handle that same stress more efficiently in the future. This entire cycle of breaking down and rebuilding is the foundation of muscle growth. And if either side of that equation is missing or poorly managed, progress slows down or stops completely. The breakdown phase is triggered primarily by resistance training, where your muscles are forced to contract under load, especially during controlled movements and slower, more focused reps. The more tension you place on the muscle in a controlled way, the stronger the signal you send to your body that adaptation is required. But here's where many people go wrong. They either don't train with enough intensity to create a meaningful signal, or they go too far and create excessive damage that the body struggles to recover from. Both extremes lead to poor results. The real goal is to find that optimal level of stress where your muscles are challenged but not destroyed. Now comes the rebuilding phase, which is where actual growth happens. After your workout, your body begins repairing those microtears using amino acids, which come from the protein you eat. This process is known as muscle protein synthesis. When this process outweighs muscle protein breakdown over time, your muscles grow. But this doesn't happen instantly. It requires proper nutrition, adequate calories, and most importantly, if you're not consuming enough protein or overall calories, your body simply won't have the raw materials needed to rebuild muscle effectively. And if you're constantly training the same muscle groups without giving them enough time to recover, you interrupt this rebuilding process before it's complete. Sleep also plays a critical role here because during deep sleep, your body releases growth hormone, which supports tissue repair and muscle development. Without quality sleep, even the best workouts and nutrition plans become less effective. Another important aspect is that your body adapts specifically to the type of stress you place on it. If your workouts are inconsistent or lack structure, your body doesn't receive a clear signal to adapt in a meaningful way. That's why repeating effective training patterns over time is essential. It allows your body to recognize the demand and gradually improve its capacity to handle it. When you truly understand this cycle of breakdown and repair, you stop chasing soreness as a sign of progress and start focusing on quality training, proper fueling, and recovery. That shift in mindset is what separates people who stay stuck from those who consistently build stronger, more developed muscles over time. Progressive overload is the single most important principle behind muscle growth, yet it's often misunderstood or applied incorrectly. At its core, it simply means this. If you want your muscles to grow, you must gradually challenge them with more than they're used to. Your body is designed to adapt for survival, not aesthetic. So if your workouts stay the same weights, same reps, same intensity, your muscles have no reason to change. They become efficient at handling that level of stress and progress stops. This is why many people hit plateaus even though they're consistent in a way that forces adaptation. Progressive overload is what turns adaptation. Progressive overload is what turns effort into result. But here's where it gets more nuanced. Most people think progressive overload only means lifting heavier weights, but that's just one piece of the puzzle. You can also increase the number of repetitions, improve your form, slow down the tempo, increase time under tension, reduce rest periods, or even enhance your range of motion. All of these methods create a stronger stimulus for your muscles without necessarily adding more weight to the bar. In fact, focusing only on heavier weights can sometimes lead to poor technique, increased risk of injury, and reduced effectiveness because the target muscle isn't being properly engaged. True progressive overload is about improving the quality and demand of your training over time, not just chasing numbers. Another key factor is tracking your progress. If you're not paying attention to what you did last week, you have no clear way of knowing whether you're improving. Something as simple as writing down your weights, reps, and sets can make a huge difference. It gives you a roadmap and helps you apply overload in a structured way instead of guessing. Even small improvements matter. Adding just one extra rep or slightly improving control on a movement is still progress, and over weeks and months, those small wins compound into visible muscle growth. It's also important to understand that progression isn't always linear. Some days you'll feel stronger and other days you won't, and that's completely normal. Factors like sleep, nutrition, stress, and overall fatigue all influence your performance. The goal is not to improve every single session, but to trend upward over time. Pushing too aggressively every workout can actually backfire, leading to overtraining or injury. Smart progression means knowing when to push and when to maintain, allowing your body to adapt without breaking down. Consistency ties everything together. Progressive overload only works if you apply it repeatedly over time. When you approach your training with this mindset, you stop relying on guesswork and start following a clear path toward growth. You're no longer just working out your training with purpose, giving your body a reason to evolve, adapt, and build stronger muscles week after week. Nutrition is where muscle growth either gets supported or silently sabotaged. And one of the biggest mistakes people make is reducing it to a single idea. Just eat more protein. While protein is essential because it provides the amino acids your body uses to repair and build muscle tissue, focusing only on protein ignores the bigger picture of how your body actually fuels growth. Muscle building is an energy-demanding process, and if your body doesn't have enough total calories, it simply won't prioritize building new muscle. Instead, it shifts into conservation mode, using the energy you consume just to maintain basic functions. This is why people who train hard but eat too little often feel stuck there, creating the right stimulus in the gym, but they're not giving their body the resources it needs to respond. Carbohydrates play a critical role here, yet they're often misunderstood or unnecessarily restricted. When you train, your body relies heavily on glycogen, which is stored carbohydrate in your If your glycogen levels are low, your performance drops, your strength decreases, and the overall quality of your workout suffers. That means the stimulus for muscle growth becomes weaker. Carbohydrates also help reduce muscle breakdown and support recovery by influencing insulin levels, a hormone that plays a role in nutrient delivery and muscle repair. Without adequate carbs, even a high-protein diet can fall short in supporting optimal growth. Fats are another essential piece of the puzzle, especially when it comes to hormonal health. Hormones like testosterone are deeply connected to muscle growth, and extremely low-fat diets can negatively affect their production. Healthy fats support overall balance in the body, helping create an environment where muscle building can actually occur. Ignoring fats or cutting them too aggressively might seem like a shortcut to staying lean, but it can quietly interfere with your long-term progress. And ultimately, timing and consistency of nutrition also matter more than most people realize. Your body doesn't just need nutrients, it needs them all. Spreading your protein intake throughout the day helps maintain a steady level of muscle protein synthesis rather than trying to consume everything in one meal. Eating around your workouts, especially including both protein and carbohydrates, can support better performance and faster recovery. Beyond timing, what truly matters is your daily consistency. One high protein meal or one perfect day of eating won't build muscle. It's the repeated pattern of fueling your body correctly over time that makes the difference. Hydration is often overlooked as well, yet it directly impacts performance, recovery, and even muscle function. Can reduce strength, endurance, and focus, making your workouts less effective. Even a small drop in hydration can affect how your muscles contract and how efficiently your body delivers nutrients where they're needed. When you start to see nutrition not as a restriction but as a tool for performance and growth, your entire approach changes. Or extreme diets, and begin building a sustainable system that supports your training. That's when your efforts in the gym finally translate into visible, consistent muscle growth, but supported by a strategy no longer being held back by a lack of fuel, but supported by a strategy that aligns with how it truly works. Recovery is the part of muscle growth that most people ignore, yet it's the exact place where real progress actually happens. You can have the most intense workouts and the most disciplined nutrition, but if your recovery is poor, your results will always be limited. When you train, you're not building muscle, you are creating stress and microscopic damage to your muscle fibers. That's only the first step. The real transformation happens afterward, when your body begins repairing that damage and adapting to become stronger. If you interrupt or neglect that recovery process, you essentially cancel out the benefits of your training. Sleep is the most powerful recovery tool your body has, and it's often the most underestimated. During deep sleep, your body releases growth hormone, which plays a major role in tissue repair and muscle development. At the same time, your nervous system resets, inflammation is regulated, and your body restores energy for the next day. If you consistently get poor quality sleep or not enough of it, your body doesn't fully complete the repair process. Over time, this leads to slower muscle growth, decreased strength, and increased fatigue. You might still be showing up to the gym, but your performance gradually declines and progress becomes harder to achieve. Rest days are another critical component that people often overlook or even avoid. There's a common belief that more training equals faster results, but in reality, training too frequently without adequate rest can push your body into a Your muscles need time to rebuild, and your nervous system needs time to recover from the stress of lifting. Without that balance, your body stays in a constant state of breakdown rather than growth. Strategic rest days allow your body to catch up, repair, and come back stronger for the next session. Another important factor in recovery is managing overall stress. Your body doesn't differentiate much between physical stress from training and mental or emotional stress from daily life. High stress levels increase cortisol, a hormone that can interfere with muscle breakdown if it remains elevated for too long. If you're constantly stressed, even the best training and nutrition plan can become less effective. That's why activities like walking, stretching are popular. Or simply taking time to relax can indirectly support muscle growth by helping your body stay in a more balanced state. Active recovery can also play a useful role. Light movement on rest days, such as low-intensity cardio or mobility work, helps improve blood flow, which can speed up the delivery of nutrients to your muscles and assist in removing waste products from your body. This doesn't replace rest, but it enhances the recovery process without adding excessive stress. When you truly understand recovery, your mindset shifts. You stop seeing rest as laziness and start recognizing it as a critical part of progress. You begin to respect the balance between effort and restoration, knowing that pushing harder is not always the answer. Instead, you focus on creating the conditions your body needs to rebuild effectively. And that's when your training finally starts paying off in a consistent and sustainable way, because you're no longer just breaking your body down, you're allowing it to grow back stronger every single time. Consistency and the mind-muscle connection are what separate short-term effort from long-term transformation. And this is where most people quietly fail without even realizing it. It's not because they lack motivation in the beginning. They start strong, excited, and committed, but over time, inconsistency creeps in. Missed workouts, distracted training sessions, constantly changing routines, or expecting fast results all begin to chip away at progress. Muscle growth doesn't respond to bursts of motivation, it responds to repeated, deliberate action over time. Your body adapts to what you do consistently, not occasionally. This means even a perfectly designed program won't work if it's not followed with discipline week after week. But consistency alone isn't enough if the quality of your training is poor. And that's where the mind-muscle connection becomes incredibly powerful. This concept is often overlooked because it sounds simple, almost too simple to matter, but in reality, it can completely change how effective your workouts are. The mind-muscle connection is your ability to consciously focus on the muscle you're trying to train, feeling it contract and stretch throughout each repetition. When you lift weights without this focus, your body tends to recruit whatever muscles are easiest to use, often shifting tension away from the target muscle. That means you could be doing the right exercise, but not actually stimulating the muscle you think you are. For example, during a bicep curl, if you're just swinging the weight up and down, using momentum, your shoulders and other supporting muscles take over. The biceps aren't fully engaged and the growth stimulus becomes weaker. But when you slow down, control the movement, and intentionally focus on squeezing the bicep at the top and stretching it at the bottom, the same exercise becomes far more effective without needing heavier weight. This is why two people can follow the exact same workout plan and get completely different results. One is simply going through the motions, while the other is fully engaged with every rep. Over time, building this connection improves muscle activation, coordination, and control. It teaches your body how to recruit the right fibers more efficiently, which leads to better strength development and more targeted growth. It also reduces the risk of injury because you're less likely to rely on improper form or excessive momentum. But developing this skill takes patience. You have to slow down, be present, and sometimes even reduce the weight to truly feel the muscle working. When you combine this level of focus with consistent training, something powerful happens. Each session builds on the last, not just in terms of weight or reps, but in the quality of contraction and control. Progress becomes more predictable, more sustainable, and far more noticeable over time. When you train, you're creating a signal. When you eat, you're providing the fuel. When you rest, you're allowing the transformation to happen. And when you stay consistent, you give your body the time it needs to adapt. And every part of this process matters. And if even one piece is missing, your results will always fall short of what they could be. The real shift happens when you stop chasing intensity for the sake of feeling exhausted and start focusing on purpose. Every rep becomes more controlled, every workout more intentional, every meal more supportive, and every rest period more valuable. You begin to realize that progress isn't about doing more, it's about doing what works again and again with patience and precision. That's how strength is built. That's how muscle is developed. And that's how you create results that don't just appear quickly, but actually last. So if you've ever felt stuck, confused, or frustrated with your progress, now you know why, and more importantly, you know what to do about it. Train smart, fuel your body properly, respect recovery, and commit to the long game. Because real muscle growth doesn't happen overnight, but when you follow the right principles consistently, it becomes inevitable.